Welcome to Wide Receiver 1, a Blue Wire podcast presented by WinBet. I'm your host, Cris Carter, Pro Football Hall of Fame wide receiver. And today, we're talking to LA Rams wide receiver DeSean Jackson. The California native was a second-round pick in the 2008 NFL Draft from UC Berkeley and the 7th wide receiver selected. The three-time Pro Bowler spent his entire NFL career on the East Coast, Philadelphia, Washington, and Tampa, but has made his way back to the home state of California to be reunited with former offensive coordinator, now head coach, Sean McVay. Stay tuned for my interview with wide receiver DeSean Jackson. Welcome to Wide Receiver 1. I'm NFL Hall of Famer Cris Carter, and I have one of my favorite receivers joining us on Wide Receiver 1, which is a Blue Wire podcast presented by WinBet. DeSean Jackson, one of the fastest men in the NFL, even after 13 years in the season. Most people know, born and raised in Los Angeles, but spent most of his time, of course, until this season, on the East Coast. Philadelphia, Washington, Tampa Bay, now back in L.A. D-Jack, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you for having me, man. How you doing?
I'm doing real good. All right. We're right in the middle of football season, and I know you're excited. I watched your press conference and you coming back into the stadium, back at the new SoFi. You guys got fans back there. But to me, man, I want to go back where it all got started, because I think a lot of times, man, it's good to relive the story. Take me back to the first time you played football. How old were you?
I mean, organized football, I was probably like 6 years old, but before that, I mean, I can remember myself probably like 3, 4 years old. I was a little kid, and you know, my brothers used to obviously they was older and they played ball growing up. So for me, you know, they had this
you had a brother that played wide receiver too, right?
Yeah, I had an older brother, Myron, who played in the NFL. You know, he was a practice squad player, but
with Kansas City.
Yeah, with Kansas City. Yeah, growing up, you know, my older brothers always played football, and I was always the youngest. So, you know, I can remember I was like 3 or 4 years old, and they used to have me jump over the couch, catching the balls. They used to hit me with a pillow. You know, they used to just do like little torture and stuff to like their little brother. So, you know, like 3, 4 years old. And then my first time playing was I played 1 year of flag football at like the age of 6.
Now, have you always been a receiver, or did you start out at quarterback and play a little running back?
Man, I played everything. I first started off, I played tight end. I was actually I used to get in 3-point stands, and I used to come out the line, just running like. It used to be crazy because it was like, looking back at it now, it's like playing tight end. Like I would have never ever thought like that would have been a position I had. But I played everything: tight end, running back, quarterback, defense. Now, have
you always been fast?
I've always been one of the fastest players on my team. Yeah, that's been 100%. Fact, every team I've been on, I've been one of the fastest dudes on my teams.
Now, take me to you end up going, to one of the legendary high schools, Cal Poly. I mean, they produce more professional athletes. They produce more football players than any other high school in the country. Take me to your days there and some of the special memories you have from Cal Poly.
Yeah, it's actually Long Beach Poly.
Long Beach Poly, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, get it right.
But Long Beach Poly, man, like you said, man, one of the great high schools in all of, high school sports to put, players in the NFL. So for me growing up, you know, I grew up in the Los Angeles area, but you know, for me, I always knew Long Beach Poly was like a great. Like if you could go to Long Beach Poly and start and play and be an impact, it's without a doubt you're gonna go get a Division I scholarship to a big time school. And for me, it was a sacrifice. It was a risk, but you know, I wouldn't change it for the world because, you know, I could have went there and been a guy from LA trying to go all the way to Poly. And it's like, how did I know I was going to play? How did I know I was going to be good enough to fit into, their regimen or their program? So for me, I just believed in myself.
And they got some dudes over there, man.
Yeah, no, they got a lot of talent, man. Long Beach, they produce talent. So for me, it was one of them things like, you know, my dad and, you know, my older brothers just believed so much in me. And they was like, man, we're going to go to Long Beach and, as a freshman, like I came in as a freshman, I was like, this dude gonna be special. Like all the coaches, we got a legendary coach by the name of Don Norford, like a Hall of Fame coach. He seen me as a freshman. He was like, yeah, he gonna be special, man. And, I had to work my butt off. And, I got moved up to varsity as a ninth grader and ended up starting varsity as a sophomore.
Now, can we go back? Because for me, I feel like football and a lot of the kids, I still train some kids, and they just want things easy. They want things handed to them. They want a guarantee. Now in college, we got the portal. Man, coach not happy with you. Coach say one bad thing to you, man, you can get in the portal, go on down the road somewhere and play football and be eligible the next year. Right. Can you speak to going to a program, having to sit your time, having to work it out, having to grind? That's how you end up 13 years in the league, and the perseverance and the things that help you understand yourself a little bit better.
Yeah, I think for myself, I kind of always been a guy that, I just was a firm believer. I was very confident in myself. I mean, you could call it cocky, you could call it overconfident, you could call it whatever you want to call it. But for me, I've always been an undersized guy, always been the smallest, always been doubted. So for me, that's just always been able to have a chip on my shoulder because everywhere I went, people was like, oh, he's not going to be good. He's not going to do this. He's not going to do that. So for me, knowing how confident I was in myself, it just kind of made me work harder and have a chip on my shoulder. So, throughout my career, every place I went, every time I, went to a new team or joined a new school or went to college, went to the NFL, like anytime I'm the new face or the new guy, like I got to earn my respect. And that's, me coming in and just having that warrior mentality. I kind of look at it as like the Mamba mentality, how Kobe Bryant was. I grew up, loving Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, Michael Vick. Them are like my three idols. So for me, just having that chip on your shoulder, man. But like you said, nowadays, these kids, they feel like things are just supposed to be handed to them because we have the social media and you do one great thing. It's like you arrived or you made it. But it's like, What have you done for me lately? This is a consistency-based thing. And if you want to make it, like you say, 13 years, you played a long time. Like if you want to follow them footsteps, you got to put your work in and you got to have the head down, chin up mentality. You get what I'm saying? Regardless of what you do, what big catch, what touchdown, whatever you do, you still got to be relevant. So it's the more I do it and how consistent I am is going to make me relevant.
Now, take me through your decision as far as deciding to go to UC Berkeley. From where you come up, from where you come up, not a lot of guys going to UC Berkeley.
Yeah.
And what went into you making that decision?
I think for myself, man, I had so many offers, man, from the LSUs, the Oklahomas, the Florida States, like SCs. Like I had all the big schools, man. And at that time, I was a kid. I was young. I traveled. I took my trips. I got to see different, environments, country, city. Like I did all that stuff. And for me, like SC, like you say, going to Long Beach Poly, it was guaranteed you was going to SC. Like
right. They take it for granted.
They take it for granted. You get what I'm saying? So I felt like they was giving extra privileges to a guy that was in Tennessee by the name of Patrick Turner. He was the big receiver that came out the same year I came out.
Okay, yeah.
But it was like we both wore number one. So I'm like, I won number one. I'm sure he won number one. So he coming away from Tennessee. So they felt like they had to promise him something. So I kind of took that as a disrespect. I'm like, man, like y'all just think y'all got me just because I'm right here. And it's known for people from Long Beach Poly to go to SC.
Right.
So
Don't take me for granted.
I took that kind of personal, man. And another thing, they had Aaron Rodgers. Cal Berkeley had Aaron Rodgers. They had Marshawn Lynch. And they just beat SC like a year or two before I committed. Like they just beat them. So I'm like, you know what?
Man, I didn't know that. Okay, it's making sense.
They beat them. So in my mind, I'm like, I could easily go fit in and go to the best of the best. Or can I be one of them dudes that stand down and say, I want to go beat the best? And so for me, I was like, man, I had that mentality like, man, I wanted to go beat them, even though I didn't. But, every time I played them, they had about 2-3 dudes on me. They was like, we're going to make sure he don't beat us.
Right. The thing that's surprising, too, is because and those guys you mentioned, in their own little way, I would call them, edge guys. And that to me is not for a guy looking for an edge. I'm talking about a guy that's got a chip on his shoulder, and you can see Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn's story. He got a chip on his shoulder. I feel like I played the game.
Yeah.
You know, with a chip on my shoulder. You create disrespect. You even create things out there. But for you to be able to decide, and I'm not going to go to SC, that just led to the mantra you had already created in high school and even in Little League.
For sure, yeah. I think, like, since a young kid, my dad, you know, like, he knew the obstacles I faced growing up in the inner city of Los Angeles. He knew I was hanging on the streets. He knew I was doing, like, all the stuff that a kid would do, you know, when you're in the neighborhood and you just hanging with your friends and just doing knucklehead stuff. So for me, I think my dad already knew that. So it's like, you know, let me put him in every sport I can so he don't have as much time to be in the streets, you know. So that went from baseball to basketball to football to running track. It's like I was never really off time. Like I never had time to really, even though I still was a kid, still went out and hung out, but it was just like I really didn't have the time to just be sitting there not doing nothing.
And that's what most kids don't realize. Parents try to keep them busy because there's less time to get in trouble. And that's real. And that's real. And I know you had a great relationship. Your father was really close to you. I know you lost him early in your career. And as I was prepping, man, I started thinking about the Green Bay, the running back last night. I don't know if you saw the story. He scored 4 touchdowns. I did,
yeah, but I kind of heard about it, but I didn't hear the full story, yeah.
Yeah, his dad, obviously, I think, had been cremated. He lost him this summer. And he had his ashes put in a necklace.
Yeah.
And he lost it on the field.
Yeah.
During the game. And, you know, the training staff, they end up finding it close to 2 a.m. in the morning and everything. But then I was prepping, and, you know, I knew the story of your dad, and I know how close you are to your mom and how you have her involved in all your operations and everything. So I just wanted to get your perspective on what it means. Sometime when we go out there on the field, we got that extra burden and we playing for a community or we playing for someone that has so much to do with you being there.
Yeah.
And how you just want them to see the best of you. Just give us some of that, what you've gone through, because your career, you've played a number of years since then, and what he might have been going through last year.
Yeah. Speaking specifically on, you know, losing a father, you know, I say this all the time. I wouldn't wish no one losing their parents, their mom or their father on my worst enemy. Like, I think that feeling is a tough feeling to have, you know, what I endured and what I went through at a young age. You know, I was 20 years old. Actually, I was 21 because my first year I was actually 20 and I was a rookie. And, you know, he got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer towards the end of my rookie season, and he actually passed away in May. But for me, man, like, being able to have that outlet of football, being able to have that brotherhood, being able to have something that could kind of keep me busy, keep my mind off of it, I think was a huge implement for me when I went through what I went through as far as losing my dad. And I'm sure Aaron Jones could specifically speak for the same thing because, you know, he played the game, and I'm sure he felt like he was on wings. You get what I'm saying? It's just like a different spirit, or it's like an angel, or, you know, I don't know what you call it, but every time I touch the field, you know, I always talk to my dad. You know, I take a prayer, I take a knee, and just, you know, thank God for giving me the opportunity to still be able to be blessed and play this game at a high level. But, you know, I don't forget, or I don't count out that my dad pushed me and helped me, you know, throughout my whole career as being a young kid to even, you know, to where I'm at now. Like, I look back at conversations and memories that, you know, he installed in me. So, you know, for me, just always having that present and just knowing that that's real, you know, like everything happens for a reason. And, you know, my pops worked so hard to get me to where I'm at. You know, I could never forget about what he's did and, you know, what he sacrificed for me. So I'm always giving praise, always giving credit, and just trying to stay connected to him as best way as possible.
I mean, not only your dad, but I've seen some of the other things that you've done. You know, there's a number of guys, you know, just through L.A. That have an impact on you. You mentioned Kobe Bean Bryant playing there while you're in your career. Kobe's playing in his career. I know you feel that connection to him and the Mamba mentality. But a couple other guys that I know have meant a lot to a lot of athletes. My first one I want to talk to you about is, there's two of them. The first one I want to talk to you about is Snoop Dogg and what he's meant to people like you. Snoop's my age, man. He's still my Uncle Snoop. And I love hanging with Snoop, been hanging with him for years, been listening to his music, going to his concert. But these guys mean something else to athletes, man. Can you kind of describe how you hooked up with him and some of the things about the relationship and how he's been kind of a mentor and stuff to you and grown you up, through the hood and everything?
Yeah, as far as Snoop, I gotta. I mean, I'm sure he has connections and relationships with everybody. But as far as me and Snoop, I feel like we got a special relationship because we actually went to the same high school. He went to Long Beach Poly as well. So he's Long Beach. Like everything about him is LBC. You know how he is. You know him. So for me, I'm in high school when I first meet him. I probably was like a junior in high school, and he had came to one of my games and. I think I had like 3 touchdowns, 175 yards. I went crazy that game. And he was just like, for me to meet him and like he had my game and he actually knew who I was. Like for me, that said different. Like, I looked, like you said, I looked up to Snoop growing up. Snoop, Tupac, like I grew up loving that West Coast music just because, that's where I come from. Yep. So once I met him the first time, it was crazy. It was like mind-boggling for me. Like he knew who I was. I'm like, how does this celebrity dude or this mogul know who I am? So fast forward, my first few years in the NFL, we just always had something in common because we both went to Long Beach Poly, and it was like you said, going to concerts, hanging out with them, going to the compound. It was just like the relationship that I built with them was just like you said, like on some Uncle Snoop. And it's just like he shows so much love and respect to the youth and just what he does. He empowers us. He makes us feel like it's possible to, continuously be yourself and, people respect you for who you are. Like he's never really changed. You get what I'm saying? Like he's went through a lot, but who he is what he's going to stand
the
on.
game.
You feel what I'm saying? Like he 50 years or higher. I don't know how it is, but you would think he still know how to be cool with the 20-year-olds. Like he always is relevant, like regardless of what era we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I think his swag and man, just his respect and his persona, like is going to always let him go down as a great. And for me, just being able to pick up the phone and call him and him answer. And like, if I wanted to go hang out with him, I want to go chill. We want to go play video games or like be at the compound, listen to music. Cause I love music as well too. He's always, he always has his phone available and he's always like hitting me up. So it's a great relationship, man. He definitely means a lot to a lot of kids and a lot of youth.
Right. And then on the other side, his legacy will never die. I saw how you tried to honor him, with the cleats, with the ID on it.
Yeah.
L.A. legend, tragically passing away, Nipsey Hussle. Give me your story and your connection to Nipsey and his whole L.A. vibe and what he represents to a new generation of young people.
Well, it's interesting you ask about. So first we talking about Snoop, and now we talking about the Nipsey Hussle. And for me,
I do my research, man.
Yeah, but it's crazy because like I put the connection together because I've been knowing Nip since I was probably like 13. We both grew up in South Central Crenshaw District area, so I've been knowing Snoop since like the teenage years. So like for me, I used to always tell Snoop.
You've been knowing Nipsey. You got a little mixed up. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I'm
Go
just
ahead.
saying because both of them, because you talking about both of them, but I'm saying like you got Snoop and you got Nip, but like for me, I compare them to be the same person because Snoop skinny, Snoop got long hair, Nipsey skinny, Nipsey got long hair. So it was just like they both gangster rap, they both from the West Coast, and it was like I always used to compare Nip to Snoop, but like Nip used to be like, no, I ain't Snoop, I'm Nipsey Hussle. I'm from Rolling 60. I'm from, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, he always went, like, he respected Snoop, but he never wanted to be like, I'm like a baby Snoop or I'm a little Snoop. Like, I'm my own, man. I'm Nipsey Hussle. And it was just funny because, like, when you look at him, you, like, they resemble each other, so you really want to put them in the same box. But Nip was just like, no, I'm my own person. I'm this, I'm that. But, man, Nip, man, like, for our generation, our culture, man, coming from where we came from, man, he did numbers, bro. And why I'm saying he did numbers, bro, because he changed the culture. He allowed, him to be big and go back to his section and create opportunity. You get what I'm saying? Create jobs, creating
really trying to empower people.
Yeah, implementing.
Not just talking about it.
You get what I'm saying?
Real solutions.
Like implement. He had what they call it. They had little spot on Gramercy where that like he had like a building where people could go in and like study school, like computers, like just really go in there on some vibes. And it's like you got that in the hood. Like not too many people are going back to the hood trying to change lives, bro. So like for him, he made a difference, man. And it wasn't no selfish thing. Like, and it's just unfortunate, you know, he had to, you know, get tragically killed, you know, from somebody that was supposed to like really, you know him and look up to him. You know what I'm saying? But you can't, I just show you can't help everybody. You can't change everybody's life. And as much as people think, oh, you this millionaire, you got all these followers, like why you can't do this, why you can't do that? Like if I continuously put everybody on, what am I gonna have? You know what I'm saying? Like I can only help and change so many people's lives. I can't change the whole world.
Say that again. Say that again.
I can't change the whole world life.
Right. I mean, people don't realize, and it's really it's a burden, and it's put on black athletes, and it's unfair. When I come out the hood, everybody can't come out. Like I can't bring everybody out with me.
All right.
Like I was trying to tell guys, man, you have to be careful what you sign up for on that initial contract, because if you bring your mom off her job, you got to pay to have her grass cut until the day she dies.
For sure.
Like you got to send her money every month. And ain't nothing wrong with all these things, but you need to know what you're signing up for.
Right.
Like if your mom don't have no man in her life, she needs some change in her pocket. You know, she needs something nice to drive in. She going to need updated clothes, things like that, the ability to be able to travel. Like these things cost real money. And most people, they're not able to do 2 or 3 contracts like you've been able to do. So how much of that knowledge are you trying to drop into the younger players? Because it's very, very important.
Yeah.
You know, we as NFL players leave a good legacy within the NFL players, within the group that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think these young kids nowadays, man, like, you know, they're very hard to talk to. And that's not saying that with no disrespect, but it's more like, I feel like the way I was raised and how I grew up, you know, I got a lot of morals behind representing. Like I got to make my OGs happy. I got to make my pops happy. I got to make
respect.
You get what I'm saying? Like I feel like nowadays these young kids.
I don't even know if you remember the first time you met me, but man, you went out of your way. Oh man, I got to talk to you. Hey, bro. Let me tell you, I respect everything you did on the field. I'm watching you off the field. I don't even know if you remember that. In LA, we shot a commercial.
Well, I was in the league. I was probably my first few years in the league.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I definitely remember, but now it just shows like these kids nowadays, man, they just feel like they know it all, man. This like I said, it's not with disrespect. It's just to the sense of, you know, you got to respect your elders nowadays, man. It's a lot of people that did it before you. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like nowadays they just think they the first ones doing it. And it's like, no, it's people that came before you. It's people that done paid the way before you. You get what I'm saying? Like you speak on earlier, like I'm a smaller receiver. You get what I'm saying? Before I already came in, they wasn't really respecting small receivers like that.
No, absolutely not.
You get what I'm saying? So it's almost like a trend. You get what I'm saying? Then you got the Tyreek Hills, you got the Mikos, you got all these young dudes, you got the Hollywood Browns. You know, it's like, I feel like I kind of helped create that wave. You know, Marvin Harrison, Steve Smith, you know, kind of guys in that area. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna always show respect and love to like the people that I looked up growing up that wasn't over 6 feet but played like they was 6'4". You get what I'm saying? I feel like I could be in that category.
Right. Let's go through your career, because to me, this is really about you, man, and everything you stand for, everything that your life is built. But in a 13-year career, there's not a lot of small guys playing double digits. The average career over the last 30 years has been 3.4 years. So give me 3 things. If there's young receivers out there, give me 3 things that were allowed you to be able to play and play at a high level for a long time.
Well, I think number one, first off, is taking care of your body. And why I say taking care of your body is because, you know, I've played a lot of football and I've had some, you know, injuries, but like my first 10 years, it was like, it wasn't nothing serious. You get what I'm saying? Like I didn't have my first surgery until I was in year 12. Nice. And it was just wear and tear. It was just over time. I had the core injury surgery. That was my first surgery I had in my whole life. And then, you know, fast forward to the last year, in my year 13, I had a freak accident on a punt return where my ankle got caught up, and the dude kind of hit me like on a dirty hit and rolled my ankle over. But besides that, I never really had injuries. I missed game like 1 or 2 games here and there, but it's like I've played majority of my career, and it's just like I think a lot of guys sometimes they don't understand how important it is to take care of your body, because if I'm not available and I'm not able to be out in the field for my team, how do you think I'm going to be able to have this longevity career? You get what I'm saying? So I take pride in the off season. I take pride in the massages. I take pride in the recoveries, the ice bath, the hot tubs, all that stuff. Like, I think that's a big priority in your life, because what you put in your body is only what you're going to get out. If I'm putting McDonald's, I know Chad Johnson loves McDonald's, but at the end of the day, I can't put McDonald's in my body every day. You get what I'm saying?
You're not made like Chad. Everybody can't do that. Only a few of you'll do that crazy.
You feel what I'm saying? So for me, I just look at it a little differently, man. It's just like, I'm investing into myself. I'm investing into being the best DeSean Jackson. Like I literally since day one always said I wanted to be one of the best players to ever do this. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like, my niche is, going to go down in history. One of the best deep threats to ever play this game. You get what I'm saying?
Over 50 touchdowns, 10,000 yards. Absolutely. Those things will last forever. What were some of the things that you learned from, and I know you always had, I don't want to be just a special teams player. What were some of the things you learned to make you a wide receiver one, a deep threat, had to be double teamed?
Man, it just goes back to that mentality, I think. I think it just goes back to that eager inside me to being able to come into the NFL and just already knowing the odds was against me. The naysayers was against me. They since day one, I thought I was going to be a first rounder. When I put my request or that letter in your junior year, when you see what's your prediction, they came back and said, anywhere from 1 to 20 or 1 to 25. So I'm like, I'm gone. I'm not. They telling me I could go to 1 to 25. You think I'm gonna stay my senior year? I'm gone.
And you peeped at them other receivers and like, oh yeah, absolutely.
You get what I'm saying? But I think my year coming out in 2008, I think it was like the first year. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
That was a crazy year.
That was the first year where there wasn't no first round receiver and like no receiver picked in the first round. I think that was like the first time.
You were the 7th receiver taken, and all of them in the second round.
And if I ain't even gonna say if I can recall, but I can recall. But only player that you could ever think about was Jordy Nelson. Anybody else out of that list, well, I don't even know what they did or who they are. Right. They still ain't balling. You get what I'm saying? So I'm gonna get a respect to Jordy Nelson. But besides that, I don't know no other dudes. But I was the 7th receiver picked, and for me, I just always had that chip on my shoulder, bro. So when I came in, I just knew, like, I'm coming in as a rookie. I'm like, I had Reggie Brown and Kevin Curtis was the starting receivers in Philadelphia when I came in there. No disrespect to them, but I came in there, I'm like, I'm taking these dudes' spots. Right. Like, I just had the mentality. I had 968 yards as a rookie receiver.
Instantly
6, 7,
made
8 touchdowns. You get what I'm saying? As a rookie, I'm like, man, I'm coming in balling. And then from there, I mean, just, the years we had in Philadelphia, man, we had some great years, man.
Nothing like playing for the Eagles, man. I mean, that fan base, and you've experienced a lot of fan bases on the East Coast. But take me through, because people always talk about the highlights. Man, I need to know, on multiple occasions, why the hell did you decide to drop the ball before you get to the end zone? The biggest play that you can make, a touchdown. You decide to low ride them last 5 yards, and after I saw you drop it the first time, I was always holding my breath every time, because I'm like, man, I think DJ could drop that damn thing again. He's so cool with it, like, and you got a little Dion off in you. So man, take me through those moments right there. Tell me, honestly, what weren't you thinking about?
Man, honestly, bro, like.
Yeah, honestly.
So I did it in high school at the All-America Army game.
Yep. I had that.
I'm gonna give you the history.
I had you on Monday Night Football on Come On Man.
All right, so I'm gonna give you the history on that one. So that one, so I think that was in like 2005. So I want to say like 2003 or 2004. Reggie Bush, he played the SC. Reggie Bush used to do all types of crazy shit. Reggie Bush like flipped and did like a tumble from like the 5-yard line. And he made it in the end zone. So me, I'm like, he jumped from the 5. So I'm like, I'm finna jump from the 6. So this is what I'm thinking in my mind. So when I did it, I broke out. I caught the pass. I broke out. I'm in the game. I'm like, I'm national television. I'm finna do something crazy. So I jump at like the 6. And when I get up in the air, it was a little further than what I realized. And I seen I was coming up down. I'm like, I'm dropping the ball, bro. I was like, I didn't realize I couldn't make it. Like I didn't practice it or nothing. I just knew I was going to try to beat Reggie Bush. And when I jumped up and I was in the air, I'm like, oh, this finna hurt. And I just let the ball go. So that one,
you had a plan.
I had a plan. It just didn't work out. That was I was just trying to outdo Reggie Bush. Now the second one, I was in the NFL first year. I was a rookie. You gotta remember, growing up, high school, college, you can't really celebrate. You can't clown. You can't do none of that. So for me, I'm about to get a chance. I'm scoring my first touchdown. I'm finna dance. I'm finna go crazy. Like I could go in there and not get
kid's dream. That's a kid's dream.
A kid's dream. You get what I'm saying? So I'm like, I could dance. I could go have fun. So when I get close, I like blacked out and I didn't even worry. I knew I was scoring. I just blacked out and like threw the ball. Like I thought I crossed the goal line, but I didn't cross it. So I'm like threw the ball and I'm doing my little dance. You know, I'm already doing my dance. I looked up and I just blacked out and just dropped the ball before I got into the end zone. So that's my 2 excuses, man. I feel like they legitimately excuses, but yeah, I did that twice. It never happened again. So you ain't gonna have to worry about that. I don't care what you say. If you get nervous, I ain't gonna do no bonehead stuff no more.
Okay, we know early drafted by Philadelphia, great years there, go on to spend some time in Washington, shortstop in Tampa. Now, headed back to L.A., man. Now, I know this got to be the swan song. You're going to play a couple years in L.A. You're reunited with Sean McVay. For those who don't know it, Sean McVay coached in Washington, when you were there. What would it mean to you in that new stadium in L.A. for you to be a part of bringing a Super Bowl to the Rams?
Man, I don't think nothing can measure to that, man. Like I look at it where I'm at in my career right now, being in my 14th year, having some of the most success, playing for the Eagles, playing for Washington, going to Tampa Bay, coming back to Philadelphia. Like, I feel like my career is really set in stone for whatever push or, whatever it is I want to do, man. Like, I have goals for myself. I want to, hopefully be able to make it into the Hall of Fame. But I think, as far as winning a Super Bowl in my hometown, coming back to where I'm born and raised, where I played Pop Warner ball, where, everything about me is Los Angeles, like, I think it's just special, man. Like, you can't rewrite a story better than this, man. You can't perfectly pitch a story ending like this. To retire my home team, where when I was growing up, we ain't had no team. I don't know, when the Rams was here, probably when you was playing back in the 80s.
No, absolutely. They came in for a minute, stopped in. I actually broke my collarbone in the Coliseum, Todd Light. Pinned my arm to my side. The only time I really got injured playing.
Todd Light used to coach me. So, yeah, he coached me in Philadelphia a little bit. But
he was nice, big corner.
Yeah, big corner. But, man, for me, man, I think, man, that's like legendary talk right there, man. And, I don't, as much as I think about it and know we got a Super Bowl here in L.A., playing for L.A., like, I don't want to overthink it. It's work that still got to be done. But I definitely feel like we got a special team. Matt Stafford came from Detroit, man.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so, man, we got weapons out the world.
You play with a lot of quarterbacks. Hey, man, don't sugarcoat it, man. Stafford got a special arm now.
Definitely.
D-Jack, where he rank compared to the quarterbacks that you previously played with?
Honestly, he top 3, man. I can't quite give him the number 1 spot, but I definitely would give him, as far as his arm strength and his playmaking ability, I definitely give him top 3. I got to play with him a little longer, and hopefully we could score some deep touchdowns and ball. But he got a chance to be the number 1, just depending on how the season go or how long my time is with him. But he's definitely special, man. He's definitely a great quarterback.
Can you talk to me about the relationship with Sean McVay? Because you had a couple other choices as far as places you could go. And it's not only Sean McVay, that offense. You talk about they had already traded for Stafford. They got a nice receiving core. And they got guys that do things different than you. So you're a perfect complement, with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Talk about the chemistry between you and the head coach McVay and that wide receiving core. That top 3 is one of the best top 3s that you're going to have of a wide receiving core in the NFL.
Yeah, as far as the relationship with McVay, It's definitely a unique relationship. He's known me for a long time. We had 3 great years in Washington. Put up some great stats. Balled out in the system that he had, him and Jay Gruden. So to fast forward it to where I'm at now, man, I could just see his growth, as far as where he was at as an offensive coordinator when I was with him in Washington to fast forward it to now. He's always been smart, always been intelligent, always knew how to draw up plays to get, his players in a mismatch for the defense. So with this situation right now, man, this offense, like you said, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, Matthew Stafford, we got legitimately good enough players, man, to get it done here and to win big, man. So I'm just waiting on my time. I'm patiently waiting on my time. I know, like you said before earlier, he gonna figure out ways to, kind of get me more involved. But my biggest thing is I still feel like I could play at a high level and I could contribute, to what we're already doing here. And it's like, for me, I want to show my worth. I want to, let people know that I can make a difference. You get what I'm saying? Like, I still feel like I could play at a high level. So that's my mentality, and anything I need to do being in year 14, like, I'm not asking to play 100 snaps, just let me get my ops, let me help my team win, and let me be a difference.
Right. It's always been important to you that you give back to your community. Now you're living in that community. Give me some of the projects that you and your mom and the staff, I know you got your own foundation. You've been doing things for years. Give me some of the things that you're doing off the field. Because, if we get caught drunk driving tonight, we're going to be on the news. But, man, we got a lot of great guys playing this game. And dudes doing great stuff. I'm talking about good men, people you should be proud about. And I always try to tell people, man, I try to brag about the dudes who play this game, man. They taught me so much, grew me up from a young kid to a man. Let's talk about some of the things that you're doing to help impact, people who look like me and you.
Yeah, man, I have a lot of organizations, one that specifically is the DeSean Jackson Foundation, that we go to the inner city. We have, seminars, we have camps, we have, we have principles, where we call them 5 principles, power, believe, dream, vision, and empower. And as far as like going into these in these inner city communities where it's less fortunate, they don't have the opportunities to go out there and really have anything, no money, no jobs, no careers. You get what I'm saying? It's really the less fortunate. And coming from where I came from, if you had that, guess what you're gonna revert to? I'm gonna go steal, I'm gonna go create violence, I'm gonna go take drugs. Like, that's the poverty we come from. So for me, being the implement to go in there and say, look, I came from where y'all came from. I was once in your shoes, but guess what? I made a way. And, just kind of giving them faith in themselves and letting them believe that it's possible to make it out of a bad situation. So the work I do in the community is just really helping uplift these kids and kind of putting that empowerment into them and letting them feel like it's possible. Because I'm not the biggest person in the world. I'm sure people look at me like, how this dude that made it in the NFL, this big game, this big man sport, and played at a high level. So, for me, I think the biggest thing is your heart. You might not have a big body, or you might not be a big stature, but if your heart bigger than everything else, it's possible to make it.
You're like a lot of people, taking advantage of the communication, starting your own podcast. I love to see other athletes start their own podcast and just talking about different things on their mind. It don't necessarily have to be sports. We're very, very creative. Let's talk about the podcast that you started, what you're trying to utilize with it, what type of platform, what type of message, and the types of guests that you've talked to and the kind you want to talk to in the future.
So my podcast, actually, I was sitting around, man, I had got hurt last year, and I was sitting around like, man, I ain't gonna be able to play football forever. Like, I got a few years left at this. Let me go on and give it a shot. But it was like I had a lot of downtime on myself. So I was like, you know what? My brother been always having a camera in my face. He always been, doing documentaries and shooting stuff on me. So I'm like, man, let me get into the podcast where I could go on and bring guests, because I got a lot of friends, a lot of celebrities, a lot of people that's doing a lot of positive things. So with my platform, I was just like, let me have people I know that I mess with, kind of give them an opportunity to go out and just kind of just realistically, authentically conversations that we just talking, like I'm being myself, it's uncut, no sugarcoating, and really kind of letting people know, like giving them a peace of mind to the viewer's point, where it's like a lot of these people, we come from the same areas. We're just like you. You know what I'm saying? Because I think like it's the shield on celebrities and like Beyonce's or Jay-Z's, like they're almost not human, but it's like we human. We just was fortunate enough to, make it or have a talent, but
right, we just came up.
Just because you got a talent don't mean you ain't got to put in the work, though. It's like Kobe, Michael Jordan, LeBron, like yourself, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, like all these people, we know we have talents, but if I just know I got a talent and I don't make the most out of my talent, what am I going to be? You get what I'm saying? So it's really allowing these people to understand that, yeah, we similar in all type of way. I put my pants on just like you. But guess what? We got the same 24 hours, right? What's going to be the difference? How you use your 24 and how I use my 24. And I'm going to work hard. So I just want to motivate people to understand that, this is a way for me to get back on my platform and, let people know what I'm doing with my time and my energy.
He's DeSean Jackson. I'm so proud, man. I remember you just as a knucklehead kid, now being responsible, growing up, wanting to have a long career in his 14th season with the Los Angeles Rams, trying to bring a championship back to L.A. all the way from Long Beach, Long Beach Poly, right?
Yes, sir. You got it right.
From Long Beach Poly to 14 years in the NFL. I'm proud to say on Wide Receiver 1, my current guest, DeSean Jackson. D-Jack, thanks for being with us. If there's anything that we can do for you in the future, man, make sure you reach out to us. But, man, thanks for being a positive brother and continue to influence the youth.
No, I appreciate your time, man. Appreciate what you do as well, too, on your platform, man. Continue to be blessed, brother.
Thanks to DeSean Jackson, and thanks for listening to Wide Receiver 1, a Blue Wire podcast presented by WinBet. And don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Cris Carter. Catch you next week.